おはようございます。
おはようござい
お
ます。
はようございます。
本日は、というわけで今日は上馬店に、いるわけなんですけども、長年にわたり自転車業界の第一線でものづくりを続けてきたとってもスペシャルな2人がいらしてます。1人は日本が誇る、老舗部品メーカー日東さんの代表の吉川さんでございます。よろしくお願いします。で、皆さん大好き、リベンデルバイシクルワークスさんの、創設者グラント・ピーターセンさんが、サンフランシスコから今日は来ていただいてます。2人のコラボレーションは、20年以上に及びですね、数々の名作パーツを生み出してきたお二人なんですけど、今日はそのね、裏側にある思いやエピソードを聞いていきたいと思いますので、たっぷりとお二人にお話ししてもらおうかなっていう感じですね。では早速お話を聞いていきたいんですが、まず、グラントさんと吉川さんの出会いについてお聞きできればなと思うんですけど、最初に出会ったのはいつ頃でどんな状況だったんでしょうかね。
1990年、私がサンフランシスコのブリヂストンの倉庫に行った時にお会いしました。ちょうどサンフランシスコが大きな地震があって、次の年ですね、サンマテオの橋が通れない時に行ったわけですから、私は製品の組み替えをしに行って、彼がその品物を自分でつけてても問題ないよと。でも安全性のためにね、入れ替えるのって言ったらそうだと。でそれを彼がなんか来て頑張ってるねっていう話が最初だった。彼はブリヂストン USA の社員で、私は日東として製品の組み替えに行ったんですけどね。
I don't remember that. But I do remember going to Nito the first time. And Bridgestone had, besides the president, they had like a president's assistant or something who was Japanese, did a lot of translating and could always speak English. And there was a Bridgestone employee there named Mike Isayama. And I don't know whether Mr. Yoshikawa remembers him, but he was a good friend of mine because he spoke English and he was really comfortable with English. He spoke English as well as you guys do. It was really good. And he impressed it upon me that Nito was a special company. He said, you know, we don't use a lot of Nito parts, but these guys make the best parts. And I was always interested in that because up till then, like, I was riding bicycles a lot from like 1970 and through the 80s and all that stuff. And if you were an American riding bicycles and riding, say, fancy bicycles or racing and trying to deck out your bike just right, you know, you always got Chinelli or Triple T bars, you know, and there were no bikes that came with like only, I guess, lower end bikes, you know, came with Japanese handlebars at the time. They weren't Nito bars, you know, so there wasn't the, they didn't get their due respect at the time because the pros weren't riding them and all that kind of nonsense. And so when Mike Isayama told me Nito is just like, these are jewels, these are the best. And, you know, we at Bridgestone didn't really use them, maybe on just high-end bikes. So eventually I went to Nito, probably 1990, maybe 1991. And I got a really good tour. I was in a good position at Bridgestone because all suppliers of bicycle parts wanted to get like the Bridgestone account. And even though we were just a tiny little bit of Bridgestone in the USA, I think it seemed like they felt that if the USA bikes used their brand of parts, then they might be using them in Japan also. So we were sort of the portal for that. And you know, I didn't realize that at the time, but later on in the mid-90s, you know, that became clear. anyway, so I went to Nitto and I saw the testing and I saw the quality of the bikes. And I remember walking into the factory for the first time. They had a gravity cast stem and a melt forged stem. They were up on the wall in there. And it didn't have a lot of text, but I think it just said gravity cast and melt forged. And Nitto gravity cast at the time, in addition to cold forging. And they pried open the clamp area of the stem, and the gravity cast one clearly broke. Do you remember this?
Yes.
Yeah. And so I've always been sort of interested in how things are made and the quality and anything to do with behind the scenes bicycle parts. So I thought, well, that's kind of neat, and we were using a lot of melt forged stems, and they were fine. I mean, they're fine. But, that got me interested in Nitto, and that sort of reinforced what my friend Mikey Sayama said, that Nitto is better than anybody else. And also, I heard, I feel like I'm talking too much, but this is sort of part of this story. I heard, and Mr. Yoshikawa can confirm this or correct it, but that in the mid-70s in Tokyo, I hope this is accurate. In Tokyo alone, there were 24 manufacturers of handlebars and stems. And then by the mid-80s in Tokyo, there was only one, and that was Nitto. And that's because when Yensha came and the exchange, when it became necessary for companies to go to Taiwan, the other companies couldn't really compete because they were just selling on price anyway. And Nitto just they didn't change anything that they did. They just stuck it out. They'd make only the best of anything. It can be a heat-treated fancy racing bar or something, or it can be a children's bar. It's still the best of what it is. And that made a huge impression on me, and that's what I remember about the early days in Nitto. And one other thing, and I'm sorry I'm talking, but I remember through the years I had asked, in the early part of our dealings with Nitto, I would ask for a handlebar, like a drop bar, to be made that weighed less than, at the time, like 275 grams or something like this. And Mr. Yoshikawa just said, no, it won't pass the tests. And I would say, well, Triple T, super light bar, is 275 grams. And he didn't cave into that. He didn't cave into the pressure to make something. He didn't use weight as a target ever. The first thing was always safety. And, that it stuck with me. I mean, that's the way we do our bikes too. First thing is safety. We don't care about weight. I don't even know what any of our bikes weigh, and we don't weigh any of the Nitto parts, but it was like light, strong, finely made. That was sort of the Nitto phrase. And so Nitto parts are beautiful, and they are light, and they're strong, and they're finely made, and we can trust them. And so that's all we use, in bars and stems.
一緒に初めて作ったニット製品のエピソードをお聞きしたいなと思うのですが、出会ってから初めて一緒にものづくりをした時のことを思い出していただけますかっていうことで、yeah, so the first product you guys made together, talk about that maybe.
今みんなが言ってるマスタッシュバーですよ。これが一番最初に作ったんですけど、マスタッシュバーを作った時は彼はブリヂストンにいて、ブリヂストンでデザインをして、どう見てもこれはセミドロですよ。日本でいう通学用のドロップハンドルが危ないからちょっとこんな形にしてフラット系にして、学生が学校に行く時に、セミドロップっていう形で作ってたハンドルで、 ヒートトリートメントしなくて、普通のアルミで彼のところへ送ったら彼は壊れるよっていうんで、その後は焼き入れして、今日現在まで一本も折れてないんですけども、彼が欲しいものは強度があって軽くて、乗りやすいものね。最初にこれを作って、全米でヒットしたというので、これが一番ですね。思い出に残るのは確かに一番最初に一緒に作った日本人が見るとセミドローでも日本のランドナーってヨーロッパから教えてもらったことばかりで、これがまさかツーリングに使うとは思ってもいなかったんで、でも彼の設計した自転車を見るとツーリングなんですよ。で、私たちは何と呼んでたかっていうと、ヨーロッパのランドナーと違ってアメリカンランドナーだと。で、アメリカで考えられるものが大体BMX にしてもマウンテンバイクにしてもね、楽しいことはアメリカから出てくるんです。で、ヨーロッパは伝統的すぎて新しいものを作るということは発想がない。で、私はアメリカにずっと毎年インターバイクのショーへ行きながらアメリカの自転車を見て、アメリカの新しいものを勉強しながら、ちょうど彼がマスタッシュ欲しいっていうんで、これを作ったのが初めてです。
Yeah, not for Shugakusei.
Yeah.
Because Mike Isayama told me that students couldn't ride drop bars because it encouraged them to sprint too much and to go too fast. This is what he told me. Maybe it's true. And so, but they still wanted a bar that was sort of not quite, just pushing the limits of being legal for school children. And in the Bridgestone Japanese catalog, there's a million bicycles in there, and they had one called the Sprinter, and it had a similar shaped bar. The radius was a lot tighter, and it had, mountain bike style brake levers. And so I just I remember I was on an airplane flying up to Seattle for a bike show or something, or maybe it was Oregon, and I drew it on some graph paper. And I'm not a good designer. I don't know how to make things. I don't know how to make curves beautiful or anything beautiful. I'm just, a normal American bike rider guy. And so I sent it to Nito and then came back with a real drawing. And, it was the first mechanical drawing, that I caused to happen, sort of. And it was really great to be taken seriously on this. And I just felt so proud and so happy, that Mr. Yoshikawa would actually take the bar seriously and draw it out, and it looked beautiful. And it's been more successful after Bridgestone than during Bridgestone. Right now, I mean, we used it on the X01, and the X01 is sort of a cult bike now. But in its day, when it was being made, dealers did not buy that bike. I mean, it was not a good seller. And but it was a really good handlebar with bar and shifters and road levers. And it was a beautiful bar, and I just thought, wow, look at how beautiful this is. And I remember another handlebar maker coming by Bridgestone at the office, and he looked at this bar, and I forget who it was, but it was an American handlebar maker. And he looked at this bar, and he looked at this curve, and he said, wow, we can't do that. We could not maintain a round cross section with this curve. And he said, how do they do that? And that just reinforced all the stuff that I was coming to believe about Nito anyway.
How did you approach him? You just send him the drawing?
Yeah, I faxed a drawing.
Your hand drawing?
Yeah.
手書きで描いた絵を
ね、
ファックス送った。
最初は手書き
うん
で、途中からその次に作ったのがこの頃から少しずつちゃんとした絵になってきたのかな。
そう、自分全然絵が描けないからこんな下手くそな絵なのにすごい真剣にやってくれてめっちゃ嬉しかったっつって
ポイントはものすごく 掴んでるんで、
うんうんうん
まあ幅と、
うん
あとは R が決まって、
うん
でポジションのね角度が決まれば大体作れるんで、
うんうんうんでも他のブリヂストンにその当時他のハンドルバーの会社が来てこれ見せたらこんなカーブ絶対作れないって言われたんですよ。だけど日東さんはできるって言われて、
100年やってると
うんそうだよね。
曲げる方
そう
が
だよね
めちゃくちゃあるんですよ。
そうですよね。
だから彼のとこに金型台をくださいという
うん
ことは一回も言ってないんです。で全部
そうかそうか
うちにある型の種類を連絡してもうこのくらいでいこうかと。でもうちょっと大きくしようかと。それだけで彼の希望するねハンドルは作れるようになる。
After 100 years in business, they have every single move of the
For the radius.
Yeah.
so
They
so
never.
he said they never have to make the new one for you.
Yes, we come up with a new one.
うん、
Yeah, yeah.
新しいの思いつかない限りはそうだねみたいな。
結構
Yeah.
難しいものもあって、
ん
バーエンドコントロール変速レバー、バーコンって呼んでるんですけど、
うん
バーコンをつけるっていうのは、
うん
こういうドロップのハンドルだけなんですよね。っていうことはその内径に合わせてるんで、これ 22.2 なんで、
うん
もう肉厚1ミリちょっとしか取れないんですよね。それをつけようと思ったら無理難題を言ってきてそれって強度的にもう無理。実際にマウンテンバイク軽くするために穴開けた会社があってね、折れて回収してましたよ。でそれを振ってくるから
うん
ちょっと待ってくれと。でもテストしながらね最終的にアルバトロスのバーができたんですけど、バーコン
それどうやって日東さんは強度強くしたんですか？
広報としては、バテッドチュービング、肉を薄くするのはもう決まってるんで、外見も内見も決められてるんでね、その間はテーパーで逃げて折れないようにね、で真ん中は厚くで両端は薄く、それを作って、供給してるわけですね。ブルーラグさんでいうと614かな。それと今のこの辺もそうなんですけど、ここペラペラなんでね、体重かけて変速されるとね、この辺が折れちゃうんだよ。これはだから今あんまりみんな真似してこないのは、材料も一級品使わなきゃなんないし、テーパーも長く取んなきゃなんないんで結構難しい。でどうしても彼はバーコンを使いたい。世の中にバーコンはシマノも作るのをやめたりして数が少ない。それでもバーコンにこだわったんで、狭い市場ででも彼と同じ歩みをしてきたんで、考え方も一緒だし理想も一緒だったんだよね。ここまで一緒に作れたんですけど、どこがあれかっていうと、自転車はやっぱり10年20年買ったら持ってくれなきゃ困る。で自分でいじってね、部品倒れて壊れたら自分で組み替えてずっと20年使えるものを作りたいんで、乗り方が変わったらまたハンドル変えればいいんだしね。それは一緒にずっと歩んできた道ですね。
ブルーラグの、自転車とにたくさん使わせてもらってる B352 アルバトロスバーについて、聞きたいんですけど、このハンドルを作るにあたっての、誕生秘話とか聞けたらなと思ってるんですけど、
先ほど話した肉厚が薄い、無理難題でも最終的にはバテッドにするっていうことで解決はしたんですけどね。黒森は結構そのままプレーンで肉が薄くても大丈夫なんで、ですから352にはアルバトロスバーには黒森とアルミがあって、アルミが一番難しかったですよね。
So only Nito could do it.
日東さん
And
にしかできない。
they didn't just say, no, we can't do
うん
it.
ただいやできませんっていうんじゃなくてやってくれたと。これどういった発想から生まれたハンドルとか？
形状はマスタッシュバーもアルバトロスバーも全てグラントさんが自分で乗ってみてこういう形状にしたいと。で無理難題を解決するのが日東ですから彼の希望するものにできる限り近づける。
You came up with the design.
仕上げもこのくらい。
The size and everything, but that was very, very hard for them to make it happen. But that's their job to do it, to make it happen.
Make the impossible
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
Well, in 1992 or 1993,
92年か
on one
93
of the
年
CB2 or CB3, something like that,
CB3
a Bridgestone
CB2
bike. We had a bend,
ブ
and
リヂストンについてたの。
I drew out, what I wanted, and they couldn't do it. And the bend, the bends were too tight in here, and it looked funny. It looked like a corner. And we sold those bars for maybe 2 or 3 years at Rivendell, and then I always wanted to get it done right. And we had just no money back then. We could, just really extremely poor. But eventually, I knew that I wanted Nito to fix the bend and to do it beautifully, and now it's our most popular bar. And, we have almost too many handlebars, and when customers want to put a bike together, they may have a preference or they may not know what they want. They ask our advice, and standard thing is get an Albatross bar. You can't not like it, and it's just, and I've got them on several bikes. It's just a basic bar. But it's kind of funny because it's not. Well, it's really a basic bar. It's just but it's beautifully basic, and so that's what Nito can do. Nito can take just a sort of a garden variety shape, something that nobody would, look at twice, and make it just absolutely beautiful. So it's just, you can look at it, and you can tell that something is a little bit special about it, even though it's just like a universal all over the world type handlebar shape. It's just beautifully done that way, and that is a contribution to, I think, bicycle riders everywhere, certainly to Rivendell, because it elevates the everyday bar into a special bar just by being so beautiful. And so that's sort of a Nito specialty, what they do. Everything, this bar here, this bar, you can think, oh, it's just like a Paperboy bar, but it is so beautifully made, and, lots of good hand positions, so it just like the Albatross bar, the quality of the bar and the beauty of it and the beauty in the bends make it stand out and make it really special. And to put this much design time and work on it, it just shows the respect for everyday bicycle parts. And I also want to make clear that, we come up with crude sketches on these bars. I don't know what Mr. Yoshikawa would say, but, these are not my designs or Rivendell designs. I mean, we come up with really crummy sketches. And then there's some back and forth, and they come up with, is this what you want? And, if we say just, make it a little bit more beautiful or something, and they just take over, and the good stuff happens when Nito takes over, not at the initial stuff. So
これもヨーロッパのプロムナード系のハンドルなんですけど、
メモ取ります。
アメリカで使うとこの高さとこの握りの長さね、これが違ってくるんで、彼は前傾姿勢取るときは手をここに乗せてね、でこうやって乗るんだよっていうので、 それに合わせて、でこれがヨーロッパとはもう形が一つ一つみんな違うんだよね。私にとっては新鮮で初めてトライするハンドルなんだよね。ものすごいワクワクして作ってましたね。だいたいここまで来て、これでもまだこれから進化していくと思います。
Well, the difference is so subtle that most people would look at them and not see the difference. But I'm sure when Mr. Yoshikawa looks at a handlebar, he sees 12 things where normal people see 1 or 2. And it's just because this is what he does. And so it's really great to have him on our side helping us look good to the American market.
お二人にとって最も思い入れのあるニット製品は何ですか？
This is for Mr. Yoshikawa.
はい
私が一番印象に残ってるのはヌードルバー。
ヌードルバ
ヌードルバ
このハンドルが最初にできた時はショートリーチなんですよね。ハンドルステムが来て一生懸命ここの R を小さくしてここを持った時とブレーキレバーを持った時の距離を短くするというのが一番違和感がない。ブレーキレバーまで遠いと大変だと。できるだけまっすぐなとこ持った時とブレーキレバーを持った距離を縮めるために R のつなぎをゼロにして一生懸命ドロップのハンドルバーを世界中が作ってる時にステムから近づけるんだったらばこっちへ一回曲げた方がいいよということで曲げて作ったんですけども、持った時もまっすぐ持つよりちょっとこうなった方が手首も痛くないし、簡単に考えられることなんですけど、みんながやらなかったのかな。それで彼からできた時に彼はドリームバーって言ってた。夢のようなドリームバーにしようかと。で私どもは製品番号じゃないと、ドリームって英語で書いて現場に渡すと、読みにくいと。で177という番号でやってドリームバーだよというニックネームが彼は途中からヌードルバーに変えたんですけども、私はもうそのドリームバーできた時は本当に嬉しかったんで、2人で一生懸命作ってドリームバーが一番記憶に残ってます。
なんでヌードルバーに変わったんですかね。
形がヌードルになってるから。見た目でいくとアルバトロスとかね、ヌードルとかね、彼ニックネームつけるのがものすごい上手で、チョコバーとかね。チョコバーとか。
It looks like a normal drop bar. I mean, fairly normal drop bar. It would blend in anywhere, but there's a lot of really subtle things going on with it. Like it has a little bit of a drop right here, so it's ergonomic, but right here, like the brake lever goes right here, and on most handlebars, the angle of this ramp, this is the ramp portion, is like 25, 32 degrees. And then if you put the brake lever here, your hand is sort of sliding down on this ramp. And you're supposed to tilt the bars up a little bit, rock them back. But the ramp on the Dream Bar is only 15 degrees. So if you tilt it up 10 degrees, which is about normal, just the way people do it, then you have a 5-degree ramp here. And what that means is that you have a nice place to rest your hands without the tendency for the hand to slide down to the brake lever. So it's really, I think it's the only bar like that, but I don't survey the field these days, but I know that it was the first one to address that because we looked at a lot of handlebar drawings and this is what we wanted. We wanted a bar that you didn't have to grab the hoods on. You can grab the hoods and you can grab here and you can grab here, but most people ride right here a lot of the time. So we just wanted a fairly flat grip there. So it's a really comfortable bar. And we got it also without a super long reach. I think the reach on this is 92 millimeters, something like that. And also a really beautiful curve. I mean, that is, when people are used to seeing like beautiful curves and beautiful lines or beautiful proportions, it's easy to not appreciate them. But when you're making a handlebar and you have to, at the same time, I mean, I think I've already said this, keep this round and keep the bend really beautiful. You know, it's hard to do, and I don't like other drop bars.
That's the only one you like.
Well,
Okay. But is this the one that's for him? It's the most attached emotionally. But do you think it's the same to you too?
it's the one that sort of was there for us when we needed a beautiful drop bar, and it adds comfort to the bikes. You know, that and a little bit higher stem made a big difference. But you know, I like all the handlebars. Albatross, Bosco, Chaco, Billy Bar. Yeah, I mean, I like them all, and I have the same problem picking on my own bike. You know, but that's why I have 6 or 7 bikes.
If you have to pick one,
I have to.
What do you say?
If you
You have to pick one. So,
Can I pick one for road and one for trail?
Okay.
No.
No, just one.
Okay.
一つ選ぶとしたらどれでしょうかっていう話をして。
I want Will to answer that question.
ウィルの答えてほしい。
For you?
No, for you.
Oh.
Oh,
One bar forever?
yeah.
Yeah, for everything.
It's the same as you. Billy bar.
ビリー
Billy
バー RPW さん。
I don't know if that would be mine.
You could use the stem to get over it.
Yeah,
You don't need
yeah.
ステムね。
ステムで、調節できるから
I'd say tie between Billy Bar, Albatross,
アルバトロスか
and
Billy
even the
Bar.
Bosco. I know it doesn't
Bosco
seem like a
doesn't seem
road bar,
No.
but you can put the stem lower and you still have all the grip advantages of it.
ステム
you
で
know,
ね
so
こう調整できるから
you know, it's a great
難
bar.
しい。
The Billy Bar was named after Will's grandma.
いえ、
Yeah.
ビリーバーはウィルさんの、
おばあちゃん
おばあちゃん
の
の名前から RB31 ビリーバー
Yeah.
なぜ名品を作り続けられるのか、お二人のコラボレーションは20年以上にわたり多くの名品を、生み出してきました。なぜそれほど長くいい関係が続けられるのでしょうか。お互いにリスペクトしている部分や共鳴している価値観があればぜひお伺いしたいです。ものづくりにおいてこれだけは譲れないという軸があればそれも共有していただけますか。
I don't consider any of them masterpieces. I mean, I think if you have the word here masterpiece and you have really excellent bicycle part, it's just interchangeable. I think bicycles are so important. Making parts for them, making them beautiful, making them work is a masterpiece, you know, in itself. So and these things, of course, they get integrated onto a bicycle. So when you say masterpiece, it sounds like you're talking about it in isolation, and you can't do that. But if we were talking about Nito products here, why were we successful in producing them? We didn't produce them. We had ideas for designs, sent in crude designs, and we got all help. As soon as it landed in Mr. Yoshikawa's lap, that's when the masterpiece, and that's when all the good stuff happens. And there may be a few faxes, a few design changes back and forth. Because sometimes the things that I will ask for, I only think they're going to look good, and then he does them according to my requests, and I see where I screwed up, and he probably knew it all along. And then I change it, and then eventually, after 2 or 3 times, they start looking good. So, but it's Nito's work. And how do we keep a good relationship for so long? I love Mr. Yoshikawa. I admire him so much. He's, as I said, he's been a huge influence on not just my approach to handlebars, but approach to everything on the bike. And I just feel lucky to have any kind of relationship with them. And you know, once you have Nitto stuff, you don't want anything else because nothing is ever as good. You know, there's Nitto, then there's non-Nitto stuff. And so, you know, I wanted to be loyal to Nitto, but not even out of any sense of loyalty is good, but just that I feel like we're lucky to get Nitto part. And Nitto is, I mean, with all the stuff that's happening with bikes and manufacturing, you know, in the world and in bicycles, I mean, as I've said, there aren't any other companies like Nitto. So of course you want to be a part of their business. Of course you want to keep them in business and going. And so we talk about Nitto a lot, and we use only Nitto products in the bars and stems. And down there it says, do I share any values with him? He has shaped my values. You know, I think absolutely we do share values, but he's the Batman and I'm the Robin. And one thing that you can't compromise when it comes to making products. Most important thing, and this also is a value that came right from Nitto, is strength and safety. Because bicycle riding, it seems insane that people are even able to keep their balance on a bicycle. I mean, how foreign an object is that really? You know, it just, we can figure out why it stays balanced, you know, on the road, but it just seems so unlikely. If you were to take a bicycle and bring it back 400 years or any time before that, and just walk it along the street and put somebody on it, they wouldn't be able to keep their balance. It just seems so unlikely, all the things you can do on a bicycle. But you're also riding in traffic, on roads or on trails, and so there are so many ways for humans to screw up and cause a crash, whether it's being crashed into or just not looking when you turn. But the handlebar that you're grabbing and the stem that you're grabbing and the fork that you're riding should not be a part of it, you know. You have to be able to trust them. And, you know, I don't want any of our bicycles or products, you know, to hurt people or to fail and change their life in a horrible way. And that is something that, you know, I hope that I would think that anyway, but I know that Nitto feels strongly that way, and there's a lot of things that Nitto won't do. And you see a lot of products on the market that, you know, they're just, hey, we've got liability insurance and this is the price, let's make it, and this is what the market is demanding, you know, because so often the low weight is just such a low common denominator. You know, if you don't know anything about bicycles or parts or stresses and structures, you know, anybody knows what weight is, but it's not even important. I mean, I want to make it clear, Nitto bars and stems are not heavy. They weigh what they must weigh. And, yeah, so we can't compromise safety. And they still have to be assembled safely.
Yeah.
彼も言ってた安全が第一っていうのは、
はい、
そこは考え方が一緒なんだよね。もっとお金を儲けようと思ったらもっといろいろな選択肢があったけど、彼と一緒なのはお客さんの安全が第一だから、ちょっとでも危ないよって言うともう企画してたもんそこで中止して他へ移っていくんですよね。だからそういう意味ではね、ものすごくやりやすいし、肉厚はこれじゃないとダメだよっていうとその通りになるんですよね。中には軽さの方が大事だっていうね、人もいるんで、それは一緒に歩いていけないわけですよね。メーカーとしてはね、やっぱり安全第一っていうのは彼の考え方ありがたいですよね。
近い将来、構想している製品はありますでしょうか？
Question for me?
Both of you.
Both of you.
Then
譲り合い。
じゃあ
アメリカの方がすごいなと思うのは本当に新しい、プロジェクトっていうのはね、私はまず BMX のハンドル作って、それからマウンテンバイクなんて考えもしなかったものがアメリカから出てきて、でトム・リッチとかゲイリー・フィッシャーのハンドル全部作って、で彼は友達だから一緒にそれも見てて、その後何をやるのかなということで、見てるとやっぱりグラベルロードに入っていく前はもうグラントさんの考えはオンロードだけじゃなくてね、ちょっと山道も行くよっていうことを考えて、ずっと作ってきたんだよね。グラベルロードに入るためのハンドルは作らなくてもここにもうできてたんですよね。だからフレームもそうだと思うんですけど、グラベルが出た時には全てのものがリベンデールにあったという形で、今一番売り上げもどんどん上がって、これから釣りを一生懸命やろうという時にちょうどいいタイミングじゃないかなと思って、私もここまで来た商品ね、あとはみんなでまた考えていこうかなと思ってます。
はい、ありがとうございます。
So can I answer the new products
Yes.
question
Sure,
also?
please.
First, just a little lead up to it.
Okay.
Is that about, and I know Mr. Yoshikawa will remember this, maybe 15 years ago or something.
Okay.
I wanted a Nito crank. And because I can't imagine in my mind, I can't imagine anything more beautiful than that. And because there's so many opportunities to make it look good, you know, just the radius of the spider arms and the finish of it and the cross section of it and the top view proportions of it and the finish, of course. And so at the time I thought, well, you know, maybe we have enough chumminess that he'll say yes to a crank. But this made a big impression on me. He said, he didn't just say, you know, we don't do cranks, we just do handlebars, stems, and racks and seat posts. But he mentioned that the first job he got in the bicycle industry was with Shimano. And he's still friends with Shimano, and there's some sort of agreement that he would not compete with Shimano on any parts. And that just speaks to his integrity. I mean, you know, I don't know when he made that agreement with Shimano, but, you know, here it was, you know, decades had passed, and he was still true to that. And that is, that really, you know, hit home with me that, oh my God, this is a guy who is unlike other business people, you know, completely unlike. And, you know, so we ended up getting cranks, and I like our cranks now. But there is another product that that I would like from Nito, just because other people have failed at it. And yet it's not right up, it's not a handlebar, stem, rack, or seat post or anything. So I feel like if I answer this, I'm sort of putting him on the spot. And I don't want to do that. And I think some other people back at Rivendell think, I'll just get to the point.
Okay.
We call it a fake top tube, and it's for carrying a mixedy style bike on a bike rack, the kind that has arms that go out like this, and you usually put the top tube right across the arms. But you can't do that with a mixedy because there's no top tube. And there are products out there, Yakima, Thule, Hollywood, and a whole bunch of other companies make them, but they all copy each other. They all have they work on the same principle. And it doesn't work with our bikes well because it doesn't clamp the bar tight. It just hooks around the seat post and the stem, or maybe the head tube, and it's a really loose fit because it has to fit everything. Then you put the bike on there and the bike just falls down low. Then if you're in a car and you're backing down a hill, the tires hit the road where the road levels out, and it's just a mess. And everyone is making these like D- products, you know, just from a design point of view. And we have figured out a design that would absolutely work, but we made it out of, you know, wood and volet straps and a nut and a bolt. And it would be so easy for Nito to dial this in and make a beautiful part. And you know, we had a Taiwan maker try to make it, and that just went nowhere. I appreciate the effort, but you know, we didn't have any acceptable. But in bikes wise, you know, there's one other thing. There's a stem that we'd kind of like. The welded and brazed stems take a long time to get, so we'd kind of like a stem like the 9190, sort of like that, but with you know, the Cristem blue. A top somewhat like that, so it comes off all the way, but it's forged, and 190 quill, 90 angle, 3 different lengths, something like that. And I've mentioned this to Blue Lug, and Blue Lug said that they might be interested in that too, and we will pay all the tooling and we'll just throw money at the project if you can make it. And then our supply of stems would be, you know, the lead times would be shorter, I think, because it's faster to make them. So that is my more realistic wish. But I would like that fake top too.
スローピング。
あ、そうです。スローピングのまあ自転車の上のところにこうつけるまあフェイクなトップチューブ。それはリベンデルでなんか木製、まあ木とボレーとなんか何個かのナットでまあ作ってみたのはあって、それはまあいい感じにできたので、それを元に作ってくれたらいいなーなんておっしゃってました。
簡単だと思いますよ。
と、あとまあ今計画していただいてるそのステムですね。9190
クリステムブルー
と同じ全部角度だけど、
クリステムブルー
Cristem blue.
みたいな。
The top half of it was blue.
あれか。
Yeah, and I think it had 3 bolts. We might go with a 4-bolt one.
3か4
3 bolts.
でも4つにするかもって言って。
Then you gotta.
Yeah.
持ってきたよ。
あ、持ってきてる。
箱の中入ってんじゃん。
They have a Cristem blue.
クリステムブルー持ってんの
$500.
500ドルっつって。
Oh, good.
すごい。届けましょうか。
ちなみにさ、
あ、これか。
これはほぼ
Cristem red.
Cristem red。
これって誰が作ってんの？
あ、ですです。
Cristem black.
あ
誰が作ってんの？
Yeah,
あ。そ
this
れニ
is
ットさん。
ああ、
yeah.
ニットメックスです。
Really?
Bar slippers。
We gotta get some of that. They do
こ
look
れ
like bar
欲しいって
slippers.
おっしゃってました。これ。
だからこれ誰が作ってんのって聞かれたから、ニットさんそうって言ったら、really？ゲットしなきゃっつって。
And here's the 3-bolt one. But, you know, it's beautiful.
So I think
stem.
for the new one, the bolts are gonna go under, right? Like, I think that's what I heard
Where did you hear that from?
from
Grandpa?
Spencer? I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm tripping. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't like to hide bolts or
Okay,
anything.
yeah.
You know, I don't even like to wrap over cable housing. Just maybe a couple pieces of twine, keep it outside the bar tape and everything. So I like this. I mean, it's accessible, and it shows that it's a piece of metal that's being bolted together, and that has a good look. And you know, lot of modern bikes are trying to hide
Mm.
everything and trying to make them look like one piece.
Mhm.
And I don't like the way that looks, and I don't like the whole approach to it, because it's trying to make them too slick. There's just, it's nice when you can see how something works. And so I like the bolts right up there, looking right at you.
Mhm.
These are, nice stems. So, 基本的には190
Okay.
quill,
基本的には。
90 here,
のクイル
and
で
then
90
8, 10, 12.
うん90
Yeah.
80。
Mid lengths picked out,
Well, I mean,
but yeah, something like that.
yeah,
Whatever.
yeah.
8、10、12。
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Short, medium, and long.
Yeah,
Short, medium.
yeah. Have these in stock.
これあるんだ。
I've never seen these colors though.
ああ、こ
この
のカラー
色合い見
初めて見た。
たことない。
うん。
I mean,
売れな
that's
かった
beautiful
え、売れなか
stem.
った。ああ。They didn't sell well. The-
早すぎた。
It was too early.
あー
Yeah.
People couldn't understand it.
すぐ黒森に変わってしまったんで、
あ
で
マウンテンバイクのスタートの時に作ったやつ。
ー
It was
あ
アングルも
うん
マウンテンバイクって
ー
10 degrees アップでしょ。
うん
これ10 degrees
うん
ダウンでしょ。もうそれで売れないし。
うん
これはエアロのハンドルバー、ロードのために作ったんで、リーベンデールのハンドルつけて山道走ったらボルトが飛ぶのかな。
うん
もうテストは終わってるんですけど、
うん
このままは使えない。
うん
で、薄もコーン、
うん
ヨーロッパスタイルで、
う
ロード用ですね、これ。
うん
で、この金型はもうない。
あ
They don't have the
あの
mold for these
そう
anymore.
だ
The tooling anymore.
なんでないかっていうと、
That's why it's gonna cost a lot of
あ
money.
そうだね
That's what we want to pay for.
10年、日本の鍛造屋さんって10年経つとね、
あ捨てちゃう
うん、スクラップに
あ
金型が行くんで、10年間オーダーしてないからもうありま
あー yeah they haven't ordered it for 10 years so after 10 years they throw the
Yeah.
molding away
Okay, so we'll pay for new mold.
いや新しい
金
あ
型代は払います。
からでもこ
す。
の
これ
これどうしても最近の
いくらですか？
最近のって全部モダンで綺麗に出来上がってるけどこのネジが全部見えてこういう感じがどうしても欲しい、
最近の自転車ってもうすべてこうつなぎ目とかを隠したがるじゃないですか。だか
はいはい。
らそれがもうすごく嫌で、だからもうボルトがもうこっち正面にドカンと向いてる方がいいなっておっしゃっています。
まあ考えましょ
What do you think about?
Oh, a new mold's what? A couple $100? Or...
いや
新しい金型って数百ドルぐらいでしょ。
No, but yeah. Okay, just think about it. You
考
know,
えてください。
but we know the molds will cost money. But
Yeah.
I
金
think
型は、まあ
う。Next time. I will talking about this demos.
Blue Lug will pay half the mold.
うちが半分払いますのでぜひお願いします
よろしくお願いします。
はい
これ映ってんですよね。
全部映ってます。
多分ね、これはね、日東が衣装を持ってんのかな。デザインのパテント、衣装なんだけども、もう切れてます。切れてるんだけど、一応取ってるから、昔ね、もうずいぶん前かな。大丈夫。いつ作ってもね。
あ
ただ、
その吉川さん的にそのっていうその心は
ロングネックが一部ちょっと問題があるのかな。22.2 でロングネックでグラベルロードにするともう体積が足らないから一番いい材料を使ってるんだけどもジュラルミンで作ってもポストが強度が足らない、そこだけがネックになる。
It's considering about the strength.
The strength.
Don't worry about the strength.
11時から打ち合わせしましょう。
冒頭が悪いやったみ
let's talk about it.
after the video shoot.
Excuse me. これだったらできるけどね。
He can
It's just a long neck
Yeah.
that concerns
1
him.
ボルトだからフェースキャップが取れない。
This is fine, like 1 bolt, no faceplate, like, but
You mean the length of the stem?
yeah, like the quill.
Yeah, but I mean they make quills in 280,
280、
280, 225,
225、
190,
190、
and all we need is 190. I mean, you know,
190、
whatever. I'm not.
190が僕らは作りたい。
考えてみましょう。
Let's think about it.
Yeah, that's
Talk about it at the meeting.
yeah.
Alright, shall we move on?
Yeah.
じゃあ次行きましょうか。次世代に伝えたいものづくりの本質。最後にこれから自転車業界やものづくり、まあこれ読まなくていいのかな。世界を担っていく若い人たちへ、お二人が伝えたい一番大切にしてほしいことを教えてください。Who wanna go first?
I want to go first because I want Mr. Yoshikawa to have the last word.
Okay.
I don't like the direction bikes are going at all, and it's hard to be public about this because people take personal offense if you say you don't like their carbon fiber bike or their carbon fiber fork or their through axle dropouts or disc brakes or suspension and everything. But I'm really concerned about the way bikes are being reshaped and what is being normalized right now. Just thing is, in the U.S. market, and I know there's a world market, but the U.S. seems to drive a lot of this stuff. There's 20 million bicycles sold, bike shop quality bikes a year. And a bicycle should last, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, something like that. And if you're selling 20 million bikes a year, you can't continue to sell that many. You can't continue to grow because all companies want to grow. I think it's a mistake, but they all want to grow. So you've got gigantic companies selling close to 1 million bikes a year, all trying to sell more this year than last year. And they're putting out bikes that, well, in the case of the carbon bikes, maybe they aren't going to last that long, but they should be making bikes that last a long enough time. But they can't sustain their own internal desire to grow if people don't replace bikes in a few years. And so the need to replace bikes, how do you get somebody to replace a perfectly good bicycle? You have to change the technology. They're just following the same model as the computer industry. You stop supporting old software, you come up with new software. That's about the extent of my computer vocabulary and knowledge. But we all see it in bicycles, where they change. You add a disc brake, and the disc brakes, jerk the front wheel out of the dropout. So you have to solve that problem. So you do through axles, and suddenly you have a through axle, which complicates changing a wheel on a bicycle, and it just makes it a high-tech sort of mystery box up there. And the quick release, from 1927, 1930, whenever, it's such a simple mechanism. But there's a move away from obvious mechanical movements in bicycles, and that's what we are against, and that's what I personally am afraid is happening to bicycles. Everything is being hidden. Everything is being internalized. Everything is being so dedicated that this part requires this matching part to go with it because it won't work with something else. I mean, indexing is that way, electronics is that way. And so the mechanical bicycle is dying right now. Shimano doesn't make, even 105 is electronic now. And with electronic bicycles, dealers in general in the bicycle industry is welcoming it because they think, oh, here's a new opportunity for us. We can grow with electronic bicycles. But when bicycles become electronified that much, then what is a bicycle mechanic going to do? Now, the point isn't to keep bicycle mechanics employed. The point is to make mechanical bicycles that a bicycle mechanic and a home mechanic can figure out and work on, maybe with a little book, maybe with YouTube instruction. Because when you can replace a mechanical part and you can look at the bicycle and see how it works, see how this lever pulls this cable that operates this lever that works against the spring on pivots. I mean, that's a magnificent thing, and I'm not trying to turn anything plain into something sappy. I'm not trying to say that, but it makes bicycles more friendly. And when you make mystery bikes, electronic bikes with no cables, $700 rear derailleurs, $400 front derailleurs, frames that are never even intended to be ridden 10 years or even 5, and may not even be safe when they're new. I mean, certainly they don't have a good track record. And that's what's happening with bicycles. So what we are doing is that we're keeping bicycles mechanical and made out of metal and easy to work on. And they have the proportions of metal too. It's a nicely proportioned bicycle. When tubes get too fat and they take on tricky shapes, rectangular, square, multi-sided shapes, and the tubes just balloon up to huge up at the head tube, and you can't see the headset. You can't, internal headsets, you can't, they're a mystery. And so we are making bikes that, to a new set of eyes, they look like they're homages to the past. They look like we're trying to be retro. We are not trying to be retro. Retro is a bad word around Ribendo. We want to make bikes simple, beautiful, mechanical. And, that's why, Nito's stems are a part of that. You have a stem and a bar and a clamp, and you can see how the clamp tightens the stem. It's not an integrated console, that gives you data feedback or anything like that. So that's what, that's my concern about the bicycle industry right now. It's just that companies have built these gigantic empires that require growth when they're already too big. And so they have to get you to buy new stuff, and they use the high-tech industry model for doing that by coming out with new technology that is not user-friendly. It's not bicycle rider-friendly. It's bottom-line friendly to them, which is not bad. I'm all for making a profit and everything, but it's just something that comes from having, and I'm going to wind this up now, sort of a realistic organic size of the market and yearly bicycle demand that doesn't match up with the financial needs, the budget needs, the sales requirements of these companies that are all so huge right now. And even smaller companies are following their lead. They think, well, so-and-so makes bikes like this, or we don't have any options anymore, so we're going to go all electronic. And it's always, I feel like I'm on a rant. Okay, I'm over that.
No, take it.
Take it.
No, I don't want to say anymore. I don't want to say anymore. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Basically, simple, beautiful, mechanical.
Yeah, metal.
Metal.
鉄でシンプルで、メカニカルで美しい自転車を
Bike
作る
rider friendly.
Yeah.
Bike rider friendly.
So someone can look at the bike and understand it. And not try to copy cars, not try to copy cars. I mean, I'd rather have a roll-up window. There are some conveniences, I'd like to, I don't drive much, so I don't feel too much about cars, but, just something mechanical, something that makes sense. And it's not crude, it's more beautiful that way, and it's more friendly that way. You can see how it works. It makes you feel smart. It doesn't make you feel stupid.
いじるの楽しいですからね、自転車はね。
It's really
Yeah, it's fun
fun
to
to-
work on a bike.
yeah.
Like to know how to work on a bike.
Yeah,
That's fun.
yeah. And electric bikes have a good purpose, but when they're being used by perfectly able-bodied, healthy youngish people
Mhm.
just to do 5-mile commutes or to ride trails. I don't think that's a great use for an electric bike. There are some good uses, but as car substitutes, not bicycle substitutes.
先ほどもお話したように考え方が一緒で、一緒に歩んできたんで、私もリサイクルできる、鉄とかアルミのねフレームというのはこれからも SDGs だし、カーボンだったらどうやって処分するんだろうと、粉砕しても地面の中埋めるしかない。グラスファイバーの船と一緒でね、処分するのが結構大変なんで、その道がまだできてない、そういうものよりやっぱり環境に優しいものを、地球に優しいものをね使ってるんだよと。で自分の健康のためにもできれば自分でスポーツのために自転車に乗ってほしいなと。でそこがアメリカにはあるんですけども、スポーツの自転車が8割ぐらいあって、で買い物の自転車ってないんだよね。買い物は車で行かなきゃ積み切れないし、距離も遠いしっていうことで、アメリカ行くと日本の10倍ぐらいスポーツ車があれば、グラベルロードも10倍ぐらいあるんで、アメリカの方が勉強しやすいから、毎年行ってたんですけども、日本は今度電動アシストの自転車がねこれだけ出てくると、ちゃんとその環境のことも考えて、パナソニックは全部預かってるみたいですけどね、作ったところは分解してリサイクルもできるし、それからもう一回販売できれば一番いいんですけどね、ヤマハさんはもうそこまで、来てるんじゃないかと思って、ただよその国から入ってきた電動アシストのものはどうやってね、これから処理していくか考えなきゃなんないでしょうね。それちゃんとやっとかないと環境のためにものすごく良くない。車も一緒ですよね。ガソリンから EV に変わっていった時にね、そのことだけちゃんとやっとかないと、かえって環境に悪いものをね世の中に出してしまうっていうことになるんで、それは私たち一番身近にある自転車ね、で言えばリサイクルできる、ほとんどの部品がリサイクルできるんで、消耗部品はタイヤは車よりちっちゃいですから処分もまだ楽なんですけどね。で自信を持って環境に優しい自転車ということを言っていきたいんですよね。ですから20年乗ってほしいし、部品は10年持ってほしいし、できるだけ弊社ではプラスチックはほとんど使わないようにして、それを今後も続けていきたいですね。
はい、ありがとうございます。
以上です。先ほどちょっと話が出た。最近はちゃんとした絵が来ます。
So this is recent drawing.
From you guys?
昔の絵はね、どっか行っちゃったかな。
He was making a joke like you guys send like a serious one. Not the hand drawing one.
Is that the Roman?
Which one is that?
最近はちゃんと図面
Doesn't look like anything we'd do.
Albatross Nuevo.
Somebody go on a road.
これは無茶ぶりのハンドル。いくらやっても合格しなかった割れがここら辺にいっぱい入ってる。
本当だ。
これは無茶ぶりだね、やっぱりね。
Okay. Okay.
So this kept on. This is the hot handlebar that kept on like cracking. Which I don't know which one, but it's like it looks like the Bosco
Moose.
Moose.
Yeah.
あ、こんなボスコムースってこんなに大変だったんですね。
今は OK だけど、こういうテストを しょっちゅうやってるんで。
Mm.
This broke in a test.
Tests.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said that was very, very
So
hard.
yeah, they did
Good one.
a lot of
Testing.
tests. Yeah, for those bars.
Yeah,
And broke a lot.
we haven't had any break, but so
製
have
品
they figured out?
Yeah, that's the test process.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is what's so great, about Nido. You know, yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
You give him a difficult task.
ごめんなさい。
ごめんなさい。いつも無茶ぶりごめんなさいと。はい、というわけでたくさん貴重なお話をありがとうございました。Thank you for a lot of the good, like, amazing stories. It was been fun talking or like listening to you guys. というわけでもう一度お二人に盛大な拍手を。ありがとうございました。